This morning's guest has a mission to build 2 houses in 2 weeks. Let's learn about the mission and meet him, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Garden City office of Santee Cooper. We're focused on the upcoming Mexico mission trip with First Presbyterian Church, and we're visiting with the mission leader, Bubba Lewis. Good morning, Bubba.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a little early, but
right before the flight. I know you're leaving in a couple hours. We are thrilled to get you in. It's amazing to think about all the preparation that has to happen year-round to get ready for these trips in the summertime.
Absolutely. We plan year-round for this trip, and this was important enough to where before I left today, that we needed to come here and speak to you about it.
I love it. There's still an opportunity for viewers to be involved to help support what y'all are doing down there, not only this week, but also next week. You're going to be there how long?
2 weeks. We go for 2 weeks. We have 2 separate groups. One group will come in the first week and build a house, and then we'll change over and have another group come in, but I stay the 2 weeks.
You stay the entire 2 weeks?
I stay the entire 2 weeks, and then we have 3 other people. John Slater, who's my construction foreman, he stays for 2 weeks.
Does he? Great.
And then Jimmy and Candy Webb, who are our spiritual leaders, our mother and father on the trip, they stay for 2 weeks.
That is fantastic. I didn't know that John, has he been involved for a good while?
He's been involved longer than anybody with our church.
Is that right?
That's continuously gone. Our church has been going for 16 years, and he's been involved for 16 years.
Come on. That is fantastic. John's very dedicated to the church.
Absolutely.
I know he's real active on the Wednesday night dinners, working behind the scenes, getting everything ready. I mean, he's very active.
I'm not used to saying all these great things about John, but I don't want him to get a big head.
That's right. He's not tuning in now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know he's asleep.
That's right. He's sleeping.
But no, John's great, and he does a great job as far as the construction part. He knows what he's doing.
Great.
Because the whole build process is set up for people who don't know a lot about construction. So he guides us through the week, and we get a house built every year. We get a house built in 1 week.
How many folks are getting on the flight, or some of them I know actually got on this weekend to head on down? How many folks are going to be down there this first week?
We have a pretty large group going both weeks. We have 23 members going
this week.
The first week.
Right.
Now we have 6 doctors from Greenwood, South Carolina, who's going to kind of piggyback with our group.
Tremendous.
So but the build team has 23, and then the second week I believe we have 25.
Constructores para Cristo, which stands for what?
Construction with God.
With God. That is fantastic. And of course, to think about the excitement for everyone who's going down, particularly first-timers. You've got a lot of newbies on this trip.
Oh yes. I even have my principal, Belton Allen at Carolina Forest High School. Her daughter is going with us.
Is that right?
She's going to be a good addition. She's excited, and I'm excited for her.
I love it. Do folks have to be members of First Presbyterian Church to attend?
We try to, since it's a church trip, we try to get as many of our members to go.
Right.
But if we can squeeze someone who really wants to go, then we try to, and we try to help other church groups if they want to get something started. Like I know Ocean View Baptist had sent a group, I believe, last year.
Right.
So we try to help. If they want to go, we try to make it available for them to go, yes.
That's fantastic. Real quick about yourself, Bubba. Are you originally from the area?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Lifelong resident.
Of Myrtle Beach?
Of Myrtle Beach.
You are kidding.
I'm a minority, obviously, but no, I lived here my whole life.
And you've got a family here in the area?
I have a wife of 13 years, and I have 3 beautiful children, 2 boys and a 4-year-old girl.
Is that right? And y'all are members of First Presbyterian?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Been there since, Dr. Wilkes started about the same time I started church.
Bobby Wilkes, the pastor there. Does he come down on the trips?
He's never been on one of our trips, but I know that our assistant minister, Chris Denny, went last year with his wife, and we've had various church members. Todd Harms is going with us this year.
Of course, sure. And he and his wife went down. Our producer, Sherry, went down on Saturday a couple days ago.
That's right.
They're down there already.
They're down there getting ready to get busy.
Living it and loving it, I bet. Waiting for you to arrive. Now, do you really get the whip out and get them going?
That's what John Slater's there for.
John's
he gets
doing
the whip
that.
out.
That's right.
My job is to get them from point A to point B and try to make it as pleasant as possible and make sure everything's taken care of. But when it comes to the construction, he takes over, and I just do what he tells me to do.
Now, have you been the mission leader all 7 years, or you went
No,
a
I
couple
went
times?
My first year,
right.
I went just as a member of the team.
Right.
But then, somehow it got worked out. They asked me if I wanted to do it, and I guess I was so moved by it, and the idea of just being involved and trying to make it a better trip.
Right.
Is what I kind of got involved with.
You said that you mentioned your principals. A daughter was going. You're out at, what do you do at Carolina Forest High School?
I'm the athletic director at Carolina Forest High School.
Good.
And Jenna, her daughter, is. I talked her into going with us, so it's going to be. I'm excited about her going.
That is tremendous. Well, Todd and Sherry Sherry has talked to me about trying to get down there, if not this year, another year, and it sounds like such an amazing experience. I can't imagine going down to Mexico for a full week and building a house.
Well, the things that I like about it, it's a life-altering experience because it's a long-term investment. When you build this house, you're going to change a family's life for a long period of time. It's not something you just give them. Now they're going to be able to raise their kids and live in a safe and clean environment. So it's an experience, and you get it done in a week. So you see from start to finish a finished product, and I think that's what's so unique about it.
Now these homes will look just like the one from Extreme Makeover recently here.
No, if we built a house that size, we could probably put about 200 families in there.
Oh yeah, sure. Is that right? So the homes that y'all are building this week and next week are about.
Well, they're made out of concrete and block,
right?
And they have a panel roof,
right?
And it's 21 feet square.
Okay, 21 feet square.
And what would be acceptable, wouldn't be acceptable for a lot of people in the U.S., it's very acceptable in Mexico because we don't put plumbing, running water, electricity, we don't put those in their houses because a lot of them don't have, that's not available to them. They don't have it now, and they don't have a place to hook up to power and water, so we build basically a grand room, and then there's 2 bedrooms. And it's got 2 doors and 4 windows and a panel roof.
Wow, Bubba.
But it's a lot better than what they're used to, because I've seen it to where they live in. We've took a family that lived in a van, that lived in a car, basically a 10 by 10 shack made out of cardboard boxes, Pepsi, Coke boxes that they nailed up on the wall, and that's what they lived in. Dirt floor. 10 by 10 and a family of 4 living in that. We tear that down and build them a 21 square building out of block and cement, and it's up off the ground, and windows and doors that they can lock and secure the facility.
That's amazing. It doesn't sound like it's just a life-changing event for the recipients there, but probably for y'all as well.
Oh no, it is. I mean, the whole purpose of the trip is to try to build that community one house at a time, and CPC has built over 500 houses in that community.
Is that right?
Over 500 houses. We've been involved with 22, 23, or this will be our 22nd and 23rd house, but
this week and next week.
This week and next week, but they have built 500 houses.
That is amazing. Bubba, if a viewer needs to get off to work now or get family off to school, I know this is the last big week of school, and of course you're taking off this last week of school, I guess, to be down there. But of course, if someone needs to get off, is there a good phone number for someone to call to learn more? Is that the 448-4496 number?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the phone number at First Presbyterian Church.
Okay, good.
And I won't be there.
Right,
all they have to do is call one of the staff members and explain to them that they want to make a contribution to the Mexico mission trip, or they want to buy a block, and they'll fill out the cards. And like I said, the second week, a group would be more than happy to bring those down.
Yes. Great. So if someone called in today or any time this week, and you've got a couple of those cards right there, that's an example. Let's see, I'll hold that up, and of course it's got, "O Lord, open my lips and my mouth shall proclaim your praise. Lord, we are the clay and you are the potter. We are all the work of your hand. Be merciful to us." Isaiah 64, that's a great verse there, but of course the ability to fill that out, and of course, what do we have on the front end there that folks are looking at?
Well, see, what we normally do, and I think a lot of people, because it's become a big event at the construction site, midweek, before we actually close in the walls and all that, we'll have a ceremony where when people have donated money and they want to recognize the lost family members or memorialize someone, they fill out these cards and we drop them all throughout the house and all the walls before we seal it with concrete.
Wait, say that again, Bubba. Y'all do that before you seal it?
Before we seal, because what happens, the construction part, there's, we have to seal the top of the house to put the roof on. But before we do that, we drop down these cards, and it can be a very emotional ceremony.
Absolutely,
because
sure.
You're talking about, like myself. I mean, we lost a daughter, and and that's what we do. We fill these cards out and we drop them in, and we memorialize lost loved ones or people who've contributed to, it might be my mom or something like that. So we do things, and it becomes a very emotional.
Absolutely. For everyone involved, that must be. And of course on here it's got please print given by, in memory of, or in honor of. And of course to think about you all giving a lot of your time and your spirit to be down there, the house for the needy. Casa para los necesitados. And of course it's very important to think about that, the ability to actually reach out to folks in that community. To be able to slip those down in there must mean a lot. How much does a card cost?
We've had, normally we sell them for $10 a piece, but we've had people give us $100, give us $500, and then we fill out, various cards, and we don't just get one card. If we might fill out 100 cards for $100. So we try to drop it to where we cover the whole house and make sure it's surrounded.
Wow.
Every wall in there will have a card put in it.
That is tremendous. Now, have you met the families who's, how do y'all go about selecting the families, Bubba? What's the process for figuring out, because there's obviously folks who are living in vans or living in cardboard boxes. There's probably a lot of needy families in this community. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. What they normally, and that's when you said it was year-round, it is year-round because they go through the staff that lives in Mexico there, they go through and have an interview process, and there's requirements that they have to have in order to get a house. They have to, be a family, have kids, have jobs, trying to, as far as clean records and things like that, to where they're need help, but they just need somebody to help them.
Right.
And then they go through an interview process, and there's a lot of great families down there. So then they've got to the point where there's so many families that need this help, they have a lottery. And it's a big event down there to where they basically pull numbers out of a hat or a lottery type system, and those families win the right to have a house built for them.
Wow.
And they have to be able to, with a job, we don't just give them a house. They have to be able to pay, rent and things like that towards the house. So there's a long-term agreement with the families and CPC to where they're not going to just get a house and then a year later sell it. They're looking for them to make a long-term investment as a family there, so that community can become stronger and better. So there's a lot to it. It's just not building a house and just giving it to whoever they think needed. There's qualifications for it.
And you said the CPC, or the Constructores para Cristo, they are based here in Myrtle, or they're somewhere else? Is this the Alabama group?
That's the Alabama group.
Okay.
Diane Davis started this about 20 years ago. And it's kind of unique how she went to Mexico and she saw the need. Her husband's an architect. He designed this house to where someone of limited construction knowledge and limited materials could build a safe and house that could be lived in with a family. And they've kind of tinkered with it over time.
Sure,
but it's
gotten better every year over the last 20 years.
Every year.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So folks like me who have no building experience, or I know Sherry's built a lot of houses before, she and her husband, but I mean folks that have limited house building experience can go down and actually put up a house.
Well, what we normally tell, and it's a joke, but we tell them, what you know about construction, you need to leave at the border, because they have everything scripted out for you. They're very detailed, and they're very regimented about how the construction is going to be, like power tools. We don't use any tools like that. Everything is with your hands, and we don't. So if you know a whole lot about electrical work or construction, you're not going to need that, because they have everything scripted. Every day you build to a certain point. That way it doesn't become a contest about who's going to build faster or who can build a nicer house. There's only certain things you can do for a family, because they don't want to create friction between the families. If your group came down and put in a flower garden, my group came down and didn't do that, some families would become jealous and have problems.
That's a great point. That's a very good point.
Every house looks the same. Every house gets the same far as makeup, far as the yard, things like that. We don't allow anything else to go on.
And y'all are obviously volunteering your time to be down there, but you have to raise funds to pay for the cost of getting down there to be able to take a week. Oftentimes folks are taking a week off from work to be down there. They're working that out with their employers. I mean, this is a big deal. Y'all are giving them a lot. Sure.
It's a big deal. I mean, just the commitment from the members going to just be away from their families. You know, that's a big deal, to be away from your family for a week in a foreign country, you know, away from work. There's a lot in that, and we appreciate that, because that is a commitment. Whereas here, when you do Habitat here, you might put in a Saturday, but you go home and you sleep in your own bed and you eat with your family.
Sure.
Now on this trip, you're totally out of your comfort zone. And
so you're not going to have your cell phone with you down there. That's right.
Nope.
I'm kidding. Yeah, no cell phone.
That's why I have to leave the country to get a break. So.
Are your wife and children coming?
No.
Is that right? So are there any kids on the trip?
We have.
Of course, you mentioned your principal's daughter.
Yes. Well, we have that. They have to be 14 years or older to go, and we have 2 young men that are going with their moms down there, and they're going to be, I believe, freshmen at Myrtle Beach High School.
Is that right? Great. So you've got a good crew. And how large is the crew that'll start today and this week, and then is it any different next week?
Well, I mean, like I said, we got a pretty good-sized crew that both weeks. I mean, we've had as few as 13 people go on a trip.
Is that right?
And still build a house.
Get it done in the same amount of time.
That's right. So we, with 23 people going this week, like you have to break off with, some people in charge of the food for the group, so they prepare the food while we're building. They're taking care of that. But 23 people. I would figure about 20 of them will be on the build site actually building.
How exciting, Bubba. That is
great.
Amazing.
It's great.
Yeah. So y'all are only doing one home, though. You're not trying to do any, I mean, it's just over that. You don't have much more time, obviously, to even contemplate doing it.
No, it's scripted, to where every day. Now, we have in the past, our church has been involved with building the Children's Center, building a medical clinic, a veterinarian clinic. I mean, they've been involved over the 16 years with building different aspects of, what CPC is involved in. But most of the time, we've taken medical groups down to work in the clinic. We've had a lot of people do that. But this year, we're just really focusing on building.
That is tremendous. And you've got, there was something you thought about. How did y'all determine this community? It was Diane Davis's experience in this community.
Yes.
Is it Piedras Negras there in Mexico? Where exactly is that? Is that...
Well, it's about 150 miles southwest of San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
We fly into San Antonio. I'll fly into San Antonio today. And then I'll get in a van or a car and drive across the border. So it takes about 2 hours to get to the border. And like I told you earlier, it's Eagle Pass, Texas. About a month ago, they had all those tornadoes that devastated that community. It's basically Piedras. I mean, we ride across the bridge at the Rio Grande, and we're in Mexico, and there's Piedras. So it's where all that was going on, and there were some damages to houses that are in Piedras.
That you all had even been involved in.
And we might wind up, some of our build team might wind up getting involved in repairing houses that were damaged by the tornadoes. So.
That's tremendous. If someone was to say, I want to help really be involved, if I wanted to build or pay for a house, how much would each of these individual homes cost that y'all are putting up? Do you have any idea?
I believe they're about $7,000 to build. To build the house. But like I said, we spent a lot of money just trying to get a group of people down there.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
just a bare, how much
the
it
actual
costs.
raw cost for the materials there, it would be around $7,000. Again, just the people involved. You could do it with as few as 13, and obviously you can do it just or do it with as group as large as 23 that are involved in lots of other aspects, keeping you all sound. Now, do you speak Spanish, Bubba?
No.
Oh, come on. So a viewer wouldn't have to, if they wanted to volunteer to go down on a future trip, they wouldn't have to be a Spanish speaker?
Oh, no. To be honest, it's set up to where, as far as unskilled labor, if you've never built, if you're not good with your hands, the way they have it set up, there's something for everybody to do that they can feel like they've contributed, whether it's helping just bring water to the group, whether it's medical, whether it's feeding, whether it's just... we stucco the house. Sometimes it's, there's something for everybody to do on this trip.
Great. And of course, we've just got about 5 minutes, but when we think about the experience for the opportunity for Christians to be involved, but still a desire to bring folks of all backgrounds down just to have them experience that. What is the Christian aspect of the event? Do y'all a lot of prayer involved, or there's some other what aspect?
We have morning devotions.
Okay.
As a group before we even go to the job site. But then when we go to the job site, it's a big event for the families there, because they'll have their families and their kids. They'll be there, and we'll have a devotion there, and take care of that. And then during the middle of the day, which it sounds like it's a waste of time, but it gets so hot there from 12 to 3 o'clock we can't work.
Right.
So a lot of times we'll have a devotional group, groups meeting there during that time period. And then at night we might get together again, but most of it's taking place during that 3-hour siesta period.
Sure. Part of the reason I asked about the Christian aspect there is because, of course, as a follower of Christ, you're called to serve anyone, all persons in an equal status. We had a guest on a couple weeks ago. We were filming at HCC in Carolina Forest, a gentleman who's going with his 2 brothers to India to ride in rickshaws to go around the country to raise funds for kids in India. And he got some what seemed to be kind of rough calls at his office later that morning. A guy who was saying, well, why are you going to India to help kids there? In the same way, oftentimes you think, why are you going to Mexico? Of course, you're building a home that you couldn't do in the U.S., one that doesn't have running water and otherwise. And he was really hurt. He's like, I'm just helping kids. I don't care about, and I've helped kids in the U.S. a lot, as well as kids overseas. He was a little hurt by someone coming after him for helping kids outside of the U.S. when this caller was saying, there's so many needy kids in the U.S., why are you leaving the country? And of course, your real goal is to help folks no matter who they are.
Well, and see, that's the trap. And I've had people say the same thing to me is, you can't let man-made borders, control what we do as Christians. I mean, they're a family in need. We need to try to help them.
Yeah.
It's only, we're in this together. So man-made boundaries cannot hold us.
That is very good. Man-made boundaries. I'm going to remind Jay of that, because he was obviously touched and torn up by that caller calling his law office a couple times. For you, as you think back how those families are selected, and that there's a real process for them, clearly a love for them, the thrill for them to be involved and to see that. But as you see the terrible poverty in that community and all the communities down there, it must be a real heartwarming experience.
Well, and see, that's what's so unique about the trip. We take for granted in this country what we have. That when you go home at night, you can lay down in your house or be in your house and you're safe and in a clean environment. We take for granted a lot of times what we have. When you go to Mexico, a lot of times we're dealing with families that they have young kids, wonderful kids that at night they're concerned about the safety of their children, concerned about people either breaking into their houses or stealing their kids, and this is a way to take that burden off them. You have a safe home for your children to grow up in, and that's why it's such a unique experience, because at the end of the week you'll see something that 20 years from now that you could come back and generations will have moved into that house from that. Those kids will come back with their families to visit, and you've changed their life for a long period of time rather than just making a donation. So when people donate to this program, they're making a long-term investment in a family, in a Christian family, to try to help them.
Absolutely. And the number again, 448-4496.
Yes, and that's the First Presbyterian Church.
Someone at the church can fill out one of these cards right now and all week, and someone even this weekend could pick it up and bring it down next week so they could stick it in the walls.
Yes, and it will get even after next week. I mean, if they want to donate anytime, we can make sure it's put in a house.
I see that your 3 children are 12, 11, and 4. Are you prepping them for the time when they'll turn 14?
Oh yes,
you ready to travel
my oldest
with Daddy?
son's already talking about it. Because it would be a great experience for father-son to go on a trip, and because you really see a whole different aspect of that they don't see here. They don't understand what true poverty is until you go somewhere like Mexico, and you are out of this country. You'll see what we really have. We're really blessed to have what we have.
Those are great words, Bubba. For you, the best part over the last 7 years, can you pinpoint it?
It's all been great. It really has been. It's difficult, like I say, you go down and physically it's difficult. The temperature, we've had it to where it's 109 degrees and we're out there building a house. But at the end, you see that family, you know what they're doing. It's it all just kind of fades.
Those are great words. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Bubba Lewis coming up next. You know, it's 7:25, so many different ways you could wrap this up as we think about this special trip. There's 8 words to remember and a good phone number, 448-4496, given by, in memory of, in honor of. Take the time to write down those 8 words, because when you call that phone number, 448-4496, you can be thinking about who you're giving this, who's giving it, who it's in honor of, and who it's in memory of. You heard Bubba share about who he and his wife and kids do that for, and their daughter is now with Christ. But you think about another great example, an opportunity when Coke and Pepsi work hand in hand together. Can you imagine looking up at your ceiling and seeing Coke and Pepsi boxes? Can you imagine that? Think about the opportunity to look up at the ceiling and see concrete blocks. One opportunity when 2 rival soft drinks actually get together is when they're stapled together to create the ceiling in your home. You can make a difference. Get rid of those boxes. Throw them aside. Burn them. Help be a part of those concrete blocks. Make a difference. Sherry was selling these in the office for $10 a pop. She should have been selling for $500. You heard Bubba talk about it. You can call in, make the determination if you want to do $10 a block or $50 a block. Given by, in memory of, in honor of, 448-4496. Pick up the phone.